Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Pat Flynn from SmartPassiveIncome.com and the Smart Passive Income Podcast. I wanted to create this video for Tim and for all of you out there who are going to be starting your podcast very soon, specifically to teach you how to record and edit using GarageBand. Now, if you aren't going to be using GarageBand because maybe you're a PC user or you might prefer something else like Audacity or Adobe Audition, that's okay. Most of those pieces of software all work the same way, and this video will still be extremely helpful for you because I'm going to show you how to be incredibly efficient when piecing your show together, because hopefully you'll just be doing more than one episode. Now, before we get started, I got some housekeeping things to take care of that's going to make your life so much easier down the road. So let's dive right into my computer and I'll show you what's going on. All right, so here we are on the whiteboard, which is where I'll be doing some instruction here for you. Let me just say what's up to all of Tim's fans. What's up, Tim's fans? Now, when creating an episode, there are some people out there who have the ability to complete an entire show in one full session, meaning their intro and outro music and even their interview are sort of recorded live and all pieced together in one moment. And by the end of that, their episode is ready to ship. I am not one of those people, and most of you probably aren't either. And I found it very convenient to think of a podcast episode sort of like a movie that's made up of different parts that, when put together, just create sort of a seamless show. And that's how I want you to think about it. So I'm going to talk about the different kinds of files or the different pieces of your show, parts of your show that you can potentially have all recorded separately and pieced together. So the first thing you want to think about having is something like a pre-roll. And a pre-roll is a unique identifier for each particular episode. So for example, it might sound like, hey, what's up? This is Pat Flynn and welcome to episode 108 of the Smart Passive Income Podcast. And that is very useful for people because, A, if they've listened to that episode before, they'd probably know, it's good to have order to all of your episodes. But secondly, it gives a good identifier for people if they want to share it or reference it later. Now, that is typically followed by the intro music, which is always good to have. Not everybody has intro music, but that's okay. You could choose, and these are really bad notes, but you could choose to have music if you'd like. That's up to you. And the music is typically followed by your intro, your sort of, again, a unique sort of introduction or welcoming for each particular episode after the music. And this is actually really important because this within typically the first minute will be the deciding factor whether people stick around or not. And in that intro, you want to give all the juicy sort of teasers that you can to make sure people continue to listen on. Because if you don't give them something to look forward to, they're just gonna leave. Now, if you do have interviews, this is typically where you'd put the interviews, and 5, then you might do sort of a unique post roll, something to end the show. Typically, you want to put a call to action in there as well. And then 6, I didn't give myself enough room, the outro music. And now each of these different things can be different files that you could sort of plop together in a timeline. And I'm going to show you how to do that in the next segment. But before we do that, I want to talk about some specific types of files that you should have handy so that when you do open GarageBand or whatever editor you use, it'll just make it incredibly easy for you to find them. All right, so right now you're looking at a sample podcast folder, and I think it goes without saying that you should obviously have your own dedicated folder for your particular show, but the way you organize those folders within that podcast folder is really important. So let me go over how I organize the folders, and this is, again, for maximum efficiency and organization. So first, you can see here, obviously, a folder for all the episodes, so every time you create a new episode, they get saved in there. There's one for all of the graphics that you have, from your cover art to anything promotional for your podcast as well, that goes in there. You also want to have a folder for all of your recorded interviews, so whatever recording software you use, plop them in there. And then also I like to have a folder for screenshots because you're going to want to take record of the high rankings you get in iTunes and elsewhere. Now, let's look at these master files really quick. This is what's going to save your life, having master files incredibly and easily accessible for you each time you create a new episode. So you can see here, I have 3 master audio files here, which will be easy to drag and drop into your timeline. So I have one for your intro. You can have one for your outro as well. And then if you have any audio transitions in between different segments of your show, you can have them in there as well. And to keep it easy, I just have them with a little dash in front and all caps so that they're easy to find. The dash just puts them at the top when they're put in alphabetical order. Now, you'll also see a master episode template here. This is my GarageBand master episode template. And this is important because it's a file that you create that you'll open up each time you record a new episode that will already be set up with all the proper track names and settings for your show. This way you don't have to start from scratch with each new episode and mess with the settings each time. So let's get into GarageBand right now, and I'll show you how to set up your master template. And then after that, I'll go over a sample episode with you so you can see just how easy it is to piece your entire show together. Okay, so as soon as you open GarageBand, you're going to be asked to create a new project. Now, this is the OS Mavericks version. There's going to be new versions in the future, and you might be using an older version of GarageBand. Either way, you're going to be creating your master template file the same exact way. So open up an empty project and hit Choose. And then you'll be asked sort of, what are you going to do with your particular file? Now, again, remember, GarageBand was made for musicians, so there's a lot of instrumental things going on here. We don't need that. You just want to record using a microphone, and just make sure the input is on input 1. Typically, unless you're doing something different, it's going to be on input 1 if you're using the line in on your iMac or your MacBook Pro. So I'm just going to hit Create to start our master template file. Now, here's the interface that you're going to be familiar with down the road. I'm not going to go over every single bit and piece of it, but I am going to give you some specific things to do right and immediately after you start this file. Again, this is to make it podcast friendly because typically musicians are using this software. So the very first thing you want to do is turn off the metronome, and that can be found here on the right-hand side. It looks like a cowbell. You know, we need more cowbell, but not when you're recording a podcast episode. What this is it keeps time for those musicians that are out there using this software, but we don't need that, so we're going to turn that off. We're going to also turn off this count in, which is sort of a sort of 4 counts before you start recording. We don't need that. The last thing you want to do is also change the sort of LED area here from beats to time. So you want to show the time because you want to know sort of how long you're recording and sort of what time you're at in different parts of the show. We don't need to know what bar or measure we're in. So those are the first 2 things. If you're not using this version, you can look around in the settings to change again, turn off the metronome, turn off the count in, and change from beats to show time. So those small little setting changes actually are really helpful for you. So you could actually save this master template file right now if you'd like. However, there's a few more things we're going to do with the tracks to make our life easier so that we'll know when we drop in our audio files exactly what's going on. So let's organize our tracks here. You'll see one track here called Audio 1. We're going to add more tracks, specify them for different parts of our show, which will make it easy to drag and drop them in later. So let's do that right now. So we're actually going to rename Audio 1 to our Preroll. So if you just double click this, you can change the name. So we'll make that Preroll. And then we're going to add a new one by clicking this plus button. And we're just going to make it the same sort of microphone line input audio file. And then I'm going to rename that one to be Intro Music. And I'll just fast forward through all this so that you'll see them all when they're done. All right, so here we are with our tracks already laid out, and I'm going to go down the list for you really quick. But before that, I want to reiterate why this is important to organize your file this way. It's important because, you know, for one, it just makes it easy to organize and to know where things go when you're dragging other files into its place here. But it's also important because in the future, if you ever wanted to change anything out, it would be incredibly easy for you, or if you go Tim Ferriss style, a VA to come in and do it for you. For example, if you wanted to change the intro music or you've changed it later and you wanted to make it cohesive from episode 1, you can come into your older episodes and just interchange the music here. Or maybe you're adding or taking out or changing advertisers down the road. If you had a track for advertisers, you could do that. Now again, these list of tracks here, this list here, it's just a recommendation. You can add your own tracks. If you have other things, you could subtract tracks. It's up to you. Now let me go down the list really quick. You have your pre-roll, your intro music, your introduction, and then you'll see 2 different interview tracks. The purpose of that is one track for your voice and one track for the person you're interviewing. And the reason you want to separate those tracks, and I'll show you how to do that in a second, but the reason you want to have them separated here is because sometimes the people you interview, they don't have the best audio quality or their levels might be too high or too low. You can adjust them here to match yours so that it's just a seamless sort of audio experience going through your show. Then you also have your post-roll and your outro music as well. Another thing you could do to make your life easier is if you know that your intro music is going to be the same in every single episode that you have, you might as well include it in your master template file. To drag and drop any audio file into your timeline in any track here, I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So open up your Finder, find an audio file. It doesn't have to be an MP3. It could be like a WAV or an AIFF. You can drag it and drop it right into that particular track. So this is the intro song. So I'm going to put it into this track here. And, for your template file, I wouldn't worry about where it is because you can move it around later if you'd like. But I'm just going to have it there, and, I'll play it for you just really quick so you can hear it.
Welcome to the Smart Passive Income Podcast.
And that's it. So you can see it going across this timeline. It's made up of different waveforms, and you can even move and shift this into different tracks if you'd like. It's really easy and intuitive. But for now, I've done all I can to prepare my master template file. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click File and Save As. And I'm going to name this the Dash Master Episode Template, so it'll always be at the top, and hit Save. And congratulations, you have your master template file, the file that you're going to open every time you record a new episode. The most important thing to remember is when you open this file to save as the new episode that you're recording, or else you're going to forget and you're going to overwrite your master template. So that's it. Now let's reopen this file and do just that, and then record our first session together. And actually, really quick, let's fix just a couple more things. Let's highlight the pre-roll. Let's move back to 0. And we could turn off the library by clicking off this button here to give us more room. And then let's save it again. That way, when we reopen it, it'll look just like this. Okay, so when you reopen GarageBand, you'll see the same screen as before. You can actually go to your recent files and open the file from there, or you can just go to your Finder window and open it here as well. All right, and here we are back at the timeline. Now, what's the first thing we do when we open this template file? We save as for this particular episode. So I'm going to go into the episodes folder and create a folder that is named 001 since this is episode 1. It's good to have a specific folder for each episode as well in case you wanted to record different versions or you wanted archived versions or whatever other things to go along with the episode. It's just nice and clean. And then I'm going to name this 001.band. Band is just the GarageBand file extension. And here we go. Now we're all ready to record our pre-roll. So I'm going to do that for you right now. This intro song is here already, which is good, but I'm going to move it out of the way because we don't need it now. You could also mute it if you'd like by clicking this mute button underneath, which turns blue. And I'm just going to make sure the pre-roll track is highlighted, and then when I press this red button, it's going to record. And then whatever I say will be recorded into the episode. So here we go. Hey everybody, what's up? This is Pat Flynn, and welcome to episode 1 of the Sample Tim Ferriss podcast. And there we go. We're done. Now let's listen to it. Hey everybody, what's up? This is Pat Flynn, and welcome to episode 1 of the Sample Tim Ferriss podcast. Now, did you notice that click sound from my mouse at the end? We obviously don't want that in there. So I'm going to move the sort of timeline cursor here a little before the end, and you'll sort of see where you're speaking based on where these waveforms are. And I'm going to hit Command-T. That splits that track at that point in time, and you'll see it's highlighted, and I can just hit delete, and it goes away. So now let's listen to it again. Hey everybody, what's up? This is Pat Flynn, and welcome to episode 1 of the Sample Tim Ferriss podcast. Boom, all good to go. Now let's unmute the master intro, and I'm going to scoot it over back here. And you'll be able to see where everything lines up. Again, remember that graph I made sort of pretending it's sort of like a movie? Well, this is where all the magic happens. So now I'm just going to test it a little bit. You can just click around and see how it sounds. And again, I can make it, I can shift it around if it doesn't sound good. But let's play it. Ferriss podcast.
Welcome to the Smart.
Sounds good. Now, if I want to get a bigger overview of what the show looks like as far as the timeline, I can use the horizontal zoom here, sort of zoom out just to get more of an idea of what room I have. And of course, it only goes up to a minute now because we haven't recorded anything else, but I'm going to do more right now, and you'll see it just go up over time. But next, I'm going to record the introduction. Now, making sure the introduction track is highlighted, I'm going to record, and you'll hear the episode's intro before I record, and that's there to help me. Again, I don't want to mute that because I want to know exactly when it's time to come in. So I'll do a very short, truncated intro for you because this is just a tutorial, but here, just check it out. I'm going to hit record right now. What's up, everybody? Pat Flynn here. Thank you for coming on to today's episode. I appreciate you guys. Blah, blah, blah. In today's episode, so on and so forth. Don't miss it. And at the end, make sure to catch this, this, and that. Boom. Here we go. Here's the interview with Tim Ferriss. And it stopped it. And there we go. So let's hear how all that sounds together. Hey everybody, what's up? This is Pat Flynn, and welcome to episode 1 of the Sample Tim Ferriss podcast.
Welcome to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, where it's all about working hard now so you can sit back and reap the benefits later. And now your host, who cannot wait for football season to start again, Pat Flynn.
What's up, everybody? Pat Flynn here. Thank you for coming on to today's episode. I appreciate you guys. Blah, blah, blah. In today's episode, so on and so forth. Don't miss it. And at the end, make sure to catch this, and that. Boom. Here we go. Here's the interview with Tim Ferriss. And we're done. Now, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so I could see the end, just so I can make sure to get rid of any clicks that might be there. So again, Command-T, delete. And again, that's kind of how the show is put together. Now, let me give you some tips as far as the interview is concerned. I'll drop the interview track. I did an interview with Tim Ferriss a while back, and I'll just sort of put that in here. I'll add the post-roll and outro music, and then we'll be done. And then I'll show you some tricks for exporting and making sure everything is leveled off as well. But let me go into the interview folder really quick just to give you some tips as far as the interviews that you're capturing. If you're using Call Recorder for Skype, this is a tool by Ecamm, you'll see that the episodes that you record or the interviews that you record are actually movie files. And the reason it's a movie file is because, you could record a movie, the what's on the screen if you're actually seeing video. But since it's audio, it's a movie file, but it's just audio. And you can actually change this to an MP3 directly from the tools that Ecamm and Call Recorder provides you right here in your Finder by right-clicking and go to Open With. Now, you could just convert this directly to an MP3. It turns it into an MP3 file, and then you could drop it in the timeline in one track. But I like to split movie tracks. There's split sides of conversation or split movie tracks. I just found that split movie tracks is just better as far as the quality that comes out. So I'm just going to click split movie tracks, and it'll take a little bit of time, but you'll see in just a moment that you'll see track 1 and track 2 show up. Okay, now one of these tracks is actually my voice, and the other track is Tim's voice. Now here I'm going to do the same thing except turn it into an MP3. So now I'm turning each side into its own MP3, which I'll then drag and drop into the timeline. So I'm going to open with Convert to MP3, the latest version. This is track 1. It takes a little bit of time, but I'll fast forward for the purposes of this tutorial. All right, and so now we have the Tim Ferriss interview track 1 and Tim Ferriss interview track 2. And I'm just going to shrink this down so I could show you how to drag and drop them in here. And so we have track 1. Where'd it go? Track 1, I'm just going to drag it right here. And it takes a while to convert, especially because these interviews sometimes go for several minutes, but just be patient. And now I'm going to do track 2. I'm going to make sure that the beginning is at the same point in time as the other one because, again, you want the conversation to be very natural. I mean, if it's off a little bit, somebody is going to answer before somebody else finishes a question. It's going to be weird. It's happened before. It's okay. You can always move these things around if you don't get it right. Now just let me zoom in just to make sure. Yep, they're at the same time. And now I'm going to play the beginning of this. However, note that typically when I start recording these interviews, and this might be the case for you, I'm not recording at the very moment we actually start the part that we want in the podcast. And just might be small talk. But I'm not going to play the whole thing for you. I'm just going to play the beginning. So let's hear what it sounds like.
All right, so, man. I'm all yours.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody? I'm so happy to welcome back Mr. Tim Ferriss, the Smart Passive Income Podcast. What's up, Tim? How are you?
I'm great. I'm enjoying Hawaiian weather in San Francisco while it lasts.
All right, and that's it. Now, I'm just going to cut this short, so I'm going to highlight both of these. Click Command-T just to delete all of that because I want the tutorial to be very short for you, obviously. But that's track 1 and track 2. And as I play these, I can notice the different levels here. You'll notice that as I was speaking, you've probably seen this already or have noticed it because it's the only thing moving on the screen. But these levels sort of go up as the voice becomes louder. And if they are in the red, like for a very long time, that's going to mean that the people listening, it's going to crackle in their earphones or on their computer. You don't want that to happen. If the audio is in the yellow or maybe just a tad bit at the bottom part of the red, that's good. And you want both tracks to be there. Luckily, Tim was on some good equipment, which he's told you in this particular tutorial for the podcast as well. So there's no worries there. But like I said before, sometimes people aren't on good equipment or their levels come out different. But I'm going to show you a little trick. Even if you can't mess with the levels enough where it just sounds good, there's a tool out there you can use to make the levels of everything in your episode all the same. And I'll show you how to do that in just a sec. But let me just finish up here with the post roll, and then I'll drop in the outro music, and then we'll export. So I'm going to highlight post roll, and I'm going to just come back a little bit so I can prepare myself.
Francisco while it lasts.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Tim Ferriss. You can find him at all the places you all know where to find him, and you can find me at all the places you all know where to find me. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next episode. That was a terrible outro. Obviously, you want to call to action, subscribe to my email list, download my ebook here, that sort of thing. But again, just for this tutorial. And then the last thing I'm going to do is plop in the outro music. So let's get the outro music here as well. And again, I can move it around. And I'm not even going to play it for you, but you kind of get the idea. So let me kind of zoom out here so you'll see exactly how this episode is laid out. Pre-roll, the intro music, the introduction, the interview on 2 different tracks, the post-roll that I just recorded, and then the outro music. And there you go. So that's the episode. So now what you want to do is click Share and Export Song to Disk. And this is where you'll get a few different options. I like to name this the same exact as it was before, 001. And I want to do it as an MP3. It just comes out a lot better as far as file size because, again, you're going to be doing a lot of these. But, let's look at these qualities really quick. Medium or high is okay. I mean, typically if you're doing music, highest quality is what you want. But, you have some music in your show typically. So, I usually do it at high quality and click export. And it's not going to take much time because this is a short episode. And boom, we're done. So we'll see the file here. Let me go into episodes and then episode 1. You'll see the MP3 file. And, if I wanted to, I could play this and we could hear what it sounds like. Hey, everybody, what's up? This is Pat Flynn, and welcome to episode 1 of the Sample Tim Ferriss podcast.
Welcome to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, where it's all about...
And I'm not going to play the whole thing for you, but that's the idea. Now, the last thing I want to give you is a tip for leveling out your show, meaning keeping the volume as loud as it can without crackling for all parts of your episode, whether you don't come in with the best quality or your settings might be off, or maybe the person you've interviewed, their settings are off. So I'm going to take you to a site called Auphonic, that's AUPHONIC, and I'll show you how that works. Okay, so here we are at auphonic.com, a cool tool that I use after every episode just to make sure things are good. It reduces a lot of noise and hum. It makes all the loudness all normalized and the same. It sort of balances the levels for everybody that listens to the show. So let me show you how to use it really quick. I'm going to log in and use 1Password here. And you'll see that I've done a number of episodes in the past already for a number of different shows that I've done. Now I'm going to click on New Production. Now note that they give you, at this point in time at least, 2 hours for free to do. That for some of you might only be 2 episodes, but you could try it out, see if you like it. Pricing is based on bulk purchases and all that stuff. I won't go over that right now, but again, it's a really cool and handy tool that I use. It comes with a lot of features as well. You can even export your file after it goes through all that normalization stuff and balancing with all the basic metadata that you want for your show. You can use this if you want for metadata, but I'm sure Tim or somebody else will teach you how to do that. You don't need to do that. I just do it through iTunes specifically, so I can drop my artwork in there and all that stuff. So I'm just going to use this just to normalize these particular episodes, and I'll show you how to do the one we just did. So I'm going to click on Choose File. I'm going to go into our podcast folder, click on Episodes, get that MP3 file that we just got, click Open, and I'm just going to go down to the bottom, and the default settings are already there, and hit Start Production. And then hit Start Production again. And you'll see it's not going to take that long because the file is really short, but it'll show you sort of a waveform and a place to download that particular episode. And all right, that episode is done. I'm going to click Download just to download it to my computer. And that's the main file you want to use as far as putting your metadata in, your cover art, upload to your server, whatever server you end up using, and then having your RSS feed from your blog, and then have it sent out to iTunes and everywhere else you have it. So before I let you go, there's one final thing I want to say. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I really hope it was helpful for you. Now, my final piece of advice for you is this. Please, with the information I just shared with you, please create a test episode first. Don't wait until your first interview. Don't wait until you record your first episode. Do it now. Record a 30-second conversation with a friend. Put it through this process and see what it sounds like. Actually listen to that episode on your desktop, on your laptop, and especially your mobile device, because most people are listening to podcast episodes on the go. Do that, and you're going to know exactly what to fix if it's not right. And you're going to make your life so much easier. Thank you, and I'll see you at the top of iTunes. Tim, thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to be here and share with your audience. For those of you out there who want more from me, you can go to smartpassiveincome.com. You can also find me at Pat Flynn on Twitter. Thanks, and I'll see you around.
Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you want more videos, please let me know what you would like to see, how-to instructionals, whatever it might be, in the comments. And please be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel so that you don't miss any new videos that I put out. I'll be doing a lot in video and TV, and there's some very cool stuff coming. Thanks for watching.